Okay, so welcome, Mark and Shelley. Thank you for submitting to the conversation. Before we get into the shops, um, Shelley, you're a former police officer.
Yes.
How long were you in the force for?
10 years.
10 years. And Mark, you're an accountant.
Yep.
And how long were you an accountant before you bought the business?
Maybe 8 or 10.
Yep.
8, 9 years. Yeah, 10 years, maybe.
And at what point in your respective lives did you think, let me be a retailer?
None.
As I was getting a haircut.
Mark was getting a haircut, come home and said, do you want to buy a news agency?
Yep.
So that's where it started.
And at that point, when he came home after having the haircut, he was still being an accountant somewhere.
Yeah.
And were you still in the force at that point, Shelley?
I was actually the admin officer at the police station. So I had a nice government job.
Yeah. So you changed about a year beforehand.
Yeah.
We're going to go in and have a look at your shop. But just thinking for a second, thinking of Mark and Shelley back then, is there something you wish you could have said to them? And not the cliche thing of, oh, don't do it or whatever, but is there something you think you could have said to them based on what you know now?
It's probably some financial things, definitely. Everyone spent more money than they should have on a shop fit at some point in life.
But that's what everyone did. And I suppose we both, I grew up in my parents' bakery and Mark grew up on his parents' cattle cane property. So we knew, businesses and long hours, and we'd only been married 10 months too. And I suppose it was like, do you really want to go take such a huge risk? Going in, they're hard business, they were long hours that they were doing. But I just had full faith in this guy that, he did the figures and he said, I think we can make it work. So.
Probably, yeah. The only other thing I'd add is that we should have changed faster.
Yeah. Look, and hindsight's a wonderful thing like that.
Oh, yeah.
The thing that's interesting is that, we all bought into these businesses back when things were so structured and there were so many kind of rules around what you had to do. And I think it took all of us who've changed, it took us a long time to realize that we could change. And then you go fast down that road. So let's take a look at what you got involved with back then. I'll just set it up on the screen. And take us back to the year. When did you buy the business?
23rd of July, 2001.
And is that burnt in your memory?
Well, it's my dad's birthday.
Right.
So, and I think it was 9/11 year too. So I suppose the year and the date are very memorable.
So this is the shop. Back then it was one shop, traditional news agency. You got a Westpac agency in the business. And you got all of these newspaper signs and everything like that. And tell us about Sarina.
So, at that stage, Sarina was probably a dominant town dominated by cane farming and cattle.
Yep.
Coal hadn't had much of an impact on the number of people that were in town or the people that were in town where they were working.
Yep.
But I suppose Sarina's always had a strong railway industry. So that was the size of it.
And population, has population changed much over the course of your ownership of the business?
Yes, it has grown. And I suppose in some ways there's been times where it's grown with just with the number of people living in every house.
Right.
But once there's a large project on, and houses that used to have 2 people in them all have 4 or 5 people living in them.
Well, look, let's get into this original business because it was very traditional, wasn't it?
Oh yeah.
Oh my goodness! I mean, what is that? A lottery game? The score thing that's up on the
It's a crossword, is it?
Scratchy.
Scratchy of some sort.
Crossword.
Right. Yep. This is the counter. You've got newspapers on the floor. You've got this big Alpha display. Alpha was a sports magazine back in the day. And tell me, why did you guys do displays like that at the counter?
Because they told us we should.
Yeah. Because they said they'd help sell papers, didn't they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's crazy. And look, you've got all the confectionery at the counter. And is that cigarettes in the back?
Yep.
Yeah, we used to sell heaps of cigarettes once before it got competitive and crazy.
Yeah.
Well, we were the only thing open at
4:30
in the morning. So,
Yep. So really traditional kind of, now we'd look at that and say it's old school, but back in the day, this was a standard, good, clean, well-run, tidy news agency.
yeah.
Now, along the way, you've had multiple shops because you had the Broad Street one, and then you kind of got another one, and then you bought the post office.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So for how many years did you have the 3 businesses?
Only about 7 years.
Well, 7 years. That's
2010 to 2017, yeah.
And you guys split, split the running. Shelley, you ran one business, Mark, you ran the other? Kind of?
Yeah, I didn't have anything to do with the post office.
Right.
Mark took care of that.
Yep. And so you had the 3 businesses, and then how long ago did you kind of amalgamate them all into the one business you have today, just for context?
Christmas 2017 was the first Christmas we had one shop.
Well, we'll get to there in a second. So back to Broad Street, you did a shop fit, and this is the new U-Boot shop fit. And I think, Shelley, we can see, is that your reflection taking the photo?
Probably.
Yep, there we go. So what year would this have been?
2005.
2005, okay. So post-shop fit, you've got a pretty cool looking shop with this thing coming down from the ceiling with the posters. It's magazines.
Yep.
You probably dominated the town for magazine sales.
Yep.
Yeah, like we
used to sell lots of them.
Like we were the #1 Better Homes and Gardens seller in Australia. And top 5, Take 5, That's Life. We had a very strong magazine buying community.
Right. I mean, look at it. You've got Zoo, you've got Men's Health, you've got Your Garden, and whatever they are towards the back there. Cleo, yeah. And then you got Family Circle over on the right. I mean, it's a whole magazine shop. And you even did your front window. You had these big displays.
Yep.
And the thing is, you did all of that because the suppliers told you, because it would sell product. How long did it take you to, not turn your back on those suppliers, but to realize that there were better opportunities elsewhere?
Oh, God.
I would say we started about 2008, 2009. We started, well, no, actually before that. Only about 2 or 3 years after we did that shop. So yeah, 2008, we converted that one wall of magazines to giftware. Right.
Now, this is kind of your first go at gifts, isn't it?
That is the whole giftware display in the new shop.
That was our gamble.
And did you think of it as a gamble back then?
Yes, because our shop fitter suggested it. He said, how about in this space we do this giftware display? And we're like, oh, God, we don't do gifts. Like, don't know. And we thought, oh, well, it's only 2 meters wide. What, if it doesn't work, we'll turn it into something else.
Did Shelley's head trying to find stock for that?
Yeah.
Yep. Well, because you'd never done it before and you're thinking, what would people in Sarina buy?
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is where you started on your gift journey. And then you thought, hang on a second, let's no longer use, traditional shop fixtures. Let's try something different.
Yeah.
Which this was. Did you make that, Mark, or did you buy that?
No, I made that.
You made that. And you're pretty good with the tools, or?
It's not rocket science. Just get in and have a
It would be
go.
rocket science.
It's not quite at Wayne's standard, but it's
No.
pretty good.
It looks pretty good, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But in this shop, you still had this big commitment to magazines. Even though you were starting to do other things as you were evolving your retail experience, magazines continue to play a role in the business.
Yeah.
Yep. And I think this is a photo from an early version of the shop you have today,
Yes.
Yes.
but it's still very kind of blocky fixtures.
Yeah.
And these were the thing, weren't they, back then?
Yes. But well, I suppose this ended up in the shop because we're trying to do the goal was a $0 shop fit.
Yeah.
And we also weren't going to do $0. We were trying to repurpose and reuse as much as possible.
Because by the time you were setting this up, you'd gone through the shop fit in your other store, you'd seen the cost of these things, and from an accounting point of view, you'd realized, how long does it take me to get my money back from a shop fit? So that's one of the reasons you're trying to do it as cheap as possible.
Yep.
It astounds me how much money people still spend on shop fits today. Just extraordinary. So you're experimenting with different gifts, but still kind of very much within that news agency sort of world. What was the maximum price point of gifts that you would stock in your businesses back then?
Let's see, look at that bag on that top shelf there. They were $120, $130.
That's a bit of a shock for back then.
Yeah.
Yeah, we used to sell a few of those.
And a Nova.
Yeah, on those lights. Can you see on the far right hand side? There's a light there.
Yep,
Yeah.
this one here. Yep.
Yeah, we used to sell. They're hideous things, but we used to sell those. I was unpacking them on the footpath one time, and I was selling them off the footpath before I could even get them in the shop.
What is that?
It's a lamp.
Well, it's got $3.39 on it.
There you go.
People in Sarina will pay anything, won't they?
Uh,
So you then decided, when I think you said the Westpac Bank came out, and you said, let's become a carpenter again.
Yep.
And
well, we borrowed that idea from Urban Products.
Yep.
They had one of their displays set up at a gift fair
Yeah.
like this, just using these pellets. So I thought, we'll give that a go.
Yeah, I spent a fair bit of time poking around in his display to work out how it all worked before I come home and reproduced it.
And so this is what it turned into.
Yep.
Now, when would this have been?
Oh, God.
Yeah, 2012.
When they closed.
Oh, okay. I mean, that's a nice transition.
Yeah.
And you used it for a range of different things.
Yep.
And still playing, expanding, looking for other products that you can sell. When did you say, okay, we're gonna really turbocharge this business and see how far we can go away from what's considered to be traditional? Because there must have been a moment where you said, you know what, I think we can really change this business in this direction.
Probably not till we merged all three into one.
Yeah.
Right.
Because when we had the two businesses before, the two news agency, you could have different stuff at each store.
Yep.
So, something that didn't work at Broad Street, you go, oh, well, we'll send it over to the other place and it'd sell over there. So you had more room to experiment, try a broader range of product. Whereas when we moved into the one store, 100 square meters, you had to focus more on what you had.
And look, I'll ask the question because I know people would wonder about it. You had the three businesses and now you've got one. And so for someone who likes to count, they're going to say, oh, one business can't be as good as three. But I imagine one business that's turbocharged, that we're going to see in a moment you've done, is going to be better for you than three businesses that are pretty good but maybe aren't as turbocharged. Would you say that's true?
Yeah, so the real kicker was that every business had spare labor.
Yep.
Because you have peaks and troughs. Every business had insurance and electricity and all these expenses and phone bills, and which seem insignificant, but when you start adding them all up, it really came down to we shed expenses far quicker than we shed sales.
Yep.
And the sales we did shed were probably some low margin stuff.
Yeah. And so it's true in the sense that sometimes someone with 3 businesses is going to feel like they're extremely busy because they're running 3 businesses. And the busyness kind of hides from you the real core profitability that you have sitting in there, that you're not seeing that because you're so busy doing these 3 different businesses. And is it fair to say that when you get into one business, your focus really tightens?
It does, yeah.
Yeah.
I suppose you do see everything, and you tend to act quicker or react quicker.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean,
also,
sorry, Shelley.
Yeah, I'm going to say, well, every decision that we've made, whether reducing hours, buying stock, just everything is figures based. Like we don't make, reducing our magazines or just anything. Yeah, we don't just decide, we're going to cut our hours back. Mark he goes in and he looks at it, he runs reports and he looks at it and he said, okay, I think these are the hours we need to be doing.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so it's evidence-based. So you're looking for the evidence that's going to drive your decisions. And I also get a sense that you're not allowing emotion to play a big role in your decisions.
Oh, sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes it does.
Yeah, but
you can't help that.
Yeah.
It's you just gotta suck it up and do it.
Yeah, it's not a key factor. So over the years, you've tried a whole bunch of different things, from the traditional to the not so traditional. And even, I think, you and some other retailers, was this early in COVID, this photo?
Yes.
And so you had these cable reels that you were using, in this case, to display, I think, the giving plate.
Yeah.
And the cable reels are terrific. They present a different look and feel to a shop. But this is back in 2020. So we're now in a situation where you're dealing with a pretty evolving business, but you're still not done, are you? You're still making significant change.
No.
Yeah.
All the time. Yeah.
And then we come to photos that represent more the business today. Now, when I was there, I stepped inside the front door and this is what I saw. And, you really have to look right down in the back corner, up there in the back corner, and you see a small selection of magazines. But the reality is, what I'm looking at here is a gift and possibly homeware store or similar. That's what it felt like to me. And how do you feel about the shop you represent today? How does it make you feel when you see this, for example?
Oh, God. I know, just massive pride. Like,
Yeah,
I mean, it took me a long time in the business to start enjoying myself.
Yeah.
Like, in all honesty, like, I reckon probably at least the first 10 to 15.
Yep.
Like, I could honestly say I was enjoying it. I mean, I'm not a retail fan to start with, but whereas now I'm excited.
Yep.
Like, I'm like, the gift fairs can't come around quick enough to see what there is to buy. What can I buy? What can I fit in?
And neither of you are, you're not trained visual merchandisers. You're not trained product buyers. Yet you're presenting here displays that are interesting, compelling. My eyes are drawn further into the business. And that's really good retail. And, you've kind of learnt all of this by just doing it, haven't you?
Yes, and yes, I suppose. And I mean, I suffer self-doubt everything I do. I'm very rarely confident in what I've done. But I know we delve into the trips to the US, like that first trip to the US I went on with you guys.
Yep.
That was January 2019. That was a massive turning point for me.
Yep.
A shift in how I saw the business and what we could have or what we could be.
Looking at a photo like this, and some of the photos we'll show in a moment, how much does speed play a role in your decision making? I know we talked before about the use of data and looking for evidence, but when you've got a decision to change and move in a direction, I imagine there's some speed with which you do that. You implement the change.
Yes.
We try.
Yeah, life gets in the way sometimes.
We get a little busy and some things don't happen as fast as we'd like.
Yeah. But you just, but you do have to say, it's costing me money to, if I don't do this, experience now tells that you need to keep changing, and when you change, you make more money.
Yep.
And if you don't change, it's actually costing you money.
Yeah.
Yep. Mark, Shelley was saying how she's discovered an enjoyment for the business in more recent years. What about you? Where's your enjoyment at for the business?
I've always enjoyed it.
Yep.
I look at myself as being a facilitator in Shelley's playing or Shelley's being involved in giftware. And I do that in ways where I look after everything else, so she only has to focus on that.
Yep.
And I think that makes it a lot easier for her to focus on that.
Yep.
But equally, I'm her biggest supporter in that I will tell her to go and do something because she's wavering as to whether she should or not.
Yep.
And I'll just you just got to have a go, and if it doesn't work, half price it and get something else.
So I step partway into the shop, and then I see this, and I think this used to be a news agency, and you've got homewares pieces that sell for hundreds of dollars. You've got sort of expected stuff like oven mitts and tea towels. That's great. You've got some cookbooks. You've got salt. Who would have thought 20 years ago you'd be selling salt in one of your shops?
Just salt. That's all it is.
And then you've got this cookware, and then right in the middle of it, you've got
my fierce bangles.
Yeah. And so salt, cookware, cookbooks, and jewelry. And the thing is, my understanding is this works really well.
Yep.
Yeah, there doesn't have to be. There's no link between the jewelry and anything else on that display, and it doesn't really matter, because if people are, enjoying that treasure hunt retail of looking and just seeing what they can discover, it doesn't matter.
No, exactly. And that's the thing. You've created a shop where every step along the way, I'm being drawn further into it because I'm wondering what's next. And on the back wall, over here on the right, you've got your post office. Over on the left is the lottery counter. Is this your magazine department?
Yep.
Proudly.
Yeah. Look, it's a category that's important to us, but we've got to manage the space so it's not taking up too much space.
Yeah.
And
I think, I don't know if you're going to allude to it at some point, but I think key too is those counters at the back of the shop. I mean, I know I've said it repeatedly in different Zoom meetings that we have, but it's a money maker. It is just a money maker at the back of the store.
Yep. Now, your office, as I understand it, is behind this magazine unit?
Yes, we share a 1.2 meter. We literally sit like this every day.
Yep.
1.2 meter wide desk.
Yep. That's good. It's efficient use of the space.
Yeah.
And when we're talking about, I suppose, saving money, that extra person you need for 15 minutes, an hour, on and off, is now Shelley or I, and we can sit there, we can watch cameras, we can look out the window, and we can see when we're needed. And and that we can do all our back office stuff and still be that extra person.
It makes so much sense. I mean, you look over the other side of the store, you've got the Lisa Pollock product here, just, beautifully displayed, and you've got the products there, and then you've got other items in the display that help me understand the products. Just absolutely fantastic. And then you've got this range of leather bags and all sorts of other gifts. And I know, Shelley, you've been a big champion for leather bags. I mean, at some point, the women of Sarina are going to be saying, we don't need more leather bags.
No, my bag collecting lady was in today and bought 2 more bags and 3 dresses. So
wow.
She would have bought 4 more dresses, but they didn't fit, so she only left with 3.
Even space you've got below. I mean, here you've got some products above in this display, and then you use every piece of space you've got in the shop that you possibly can.
Yeah, well, like Mark says, you pay rent floor to ceiling, wall to wall.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, my biggest criticism and I can't find an answer to it is we don't use the space under the tables well enough. But
no, that's a challenge in retail, isn't it?
Yeah.
You still do traditional seasons, like you've got a bit of Mother's Day here, but I don't imagine you go and buy heavily for a season because you've got such a broad range of product in the store that you can draw from.
Yeah, we don't buy anything there's nothing with mum on it in the shop.
Yep.
Mother's.
Now, you mentioned clothing, Shelley.
Yes.
My goodness. You've got, I think, 3 or 4 suppliers you buy clothing from?
Yes, 3. I started with 1, Gary in Leathers.
Yeah.
And then I went to Powder, the kimonos and the pajamas. And then to Anna Nova. And then I've got another supplier that I'm yet to put out as well.
And how's clothing going for you?
Yeah, great.
Yep.
Yeah, it's good. Like, it surprised me when I ran the reports how much we've sold.
Yep.
But it's just, once again, having something different.
Now, how long ago did you get into clothing kind of to this extent?
12 months ago.
About 12 months ago. Like, my usual answer, where am I going to fit it? Like, I've been told for a while.
Is it fair to say that when you do things like this, and you head into clothing, you don't look at something like this as being forever, in the sense that you're always prepared to do this, run with as hard as you can while it's successful, but as soon as it stops being successful, what's next?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is successful. We're going to probably add probably 2 more racks to that soon. And once again, just flog it for as long as you can and then jump off onto something else.
Yeah, because we do, being a small town, suffer from saturation points, what I call it. You have something and it goes great guns, like we did Disney a while ago, and it just sold so much Disney product, and then bang, it just stopped.
Yeah.
You tried different suppliers, but still no good. So it's like, okay, that's it. We've hit our saturation point for Disney. What's next? Yeah. And so
I know there are people who might want to ask, the decisions you're making, Mark, because you're an accountant, you've got that kind of added knowledge. But the reality is people can train themselves to make these decisions based on the data they've got access to, can't they?
Yeah. Like the same, it's like one thing I thought of when we go to the gift fairs, like you have a budget, but you need to divide that budget up into what is selling in your store. So if 25% of your sales are on clothing, then you should be spending 25% of your budget on clothing. Or if it's a growing category, then increase how much you spend on that.
Yep.
So, you should be looking at each type of giftware in your store that's working and then correspond that with what you spend.
Yep. Okay.
Well.
That's another look back. And it's interesting. You've got the clothing, and then that comes into an area of self-care, which I know has been very important for you in the shop. And Mark, you have a story that you tell about, is it a candle or a scent?
A gold body oil.
Yeah. So
Sorry, gold body oil. That's right.
yeah. So if you have a look towards the top right there, you can see a pink, a gold, and a blue bottle.
Yep.
Against the wall.
Against the wall.
Oh, yep.
Yeah.
I can't zoom in on that, but just
Yeah. So we bought this range of there's three different at this time. There's three different body oils. We might have to buy 3 of each one, and some perfume rollers. And I thought if we can sell that in the next 6 months, that'd be great. That's a good result. And that was just at the start of COVID, and then people sort of had that whole self-care, more time on their hands to shop, and that gold one in particular has a really nice fragrance. It looks really spectacular in the bottle, and it is my favourite product in my whole shop.
And you tell people that with pride.
I now tell people this is my favourite product in the shop, and the reason it's my favourite product is because everyone has this wonderful moment discovering the product, which makes me feel good, and they then go and buy not just one for their friend that they're going to buy a gift for. They buy one for themselves, so they buy 2, which makes me feel good too. And that's
And it's a small product. I can see there in the photo. It's not dominating the floor.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So you try and create these zones within the shop where, even though the shop's not big, you've got the ability for people to move around. So it's shopper friendly, it's browser friendly, and Shelley, you're talking about the town, and you've got a certain population. You don't have many tourists coming through, do you?
No, not really. You get a few. It seemed to be getting a few more because we're half hour south of Mackay, and we're like in this long, and 3 hours north of Rocky, and that 3-hour drive is a big nothing. So we don't rely on tourist trade, but we are finding that more and more people from Mackay are actually coming down to Sarina and shop.
But if I was living in town and I thought, I want to go and blow $500 on some clothes or something, or some gifts or whatever, I could think, Mackay's 25 minutes away. I'll just go into Mackay and do that.
Yeah,
exactly. And here you are thriving with those competitors so close to you.
Yeah.
You zone the shop well, and each space you look at, you can see, I understand what this space is about, and I understand who the shopper's going to be, who's going to go to that space. And you said before, Shelley, about you kind of think about things a lot. So you might put something up and then you'll take it down or you'll adjust it. How often are you spending your time in the shop floor doing that?
A few times a week. Like, those fry pans, I've moved them to the shop window to like 2 days ago. And that was a spur of the moment decision to do that. Like, I'm always walking around the shop regularly, like taking note. Like, I have my little note, like customers will quite often see me just standing there writing in my notebook with my pencil, and because I'm just like, I can do that. And sometimes if I want to put something new out, it can be like that shuffle game, okay, if I want to get that there, okay, so I'm going to have to move this, but I'm also going to have to move this to there. And, I might have to move 7 or 8 things to get the space that I want.
Yep. But you eventually get there.
Yeah, I'm never happy. Like, well, never satisfied. Like, I'm always wanting to change it, which I think.
I like this photo because it's an example of how you're using this other space that you've got. Like, even the side of the table, you're hanging products from there, which, you're trying to make every square meter that you've got count in the business and be worthwhile for you. You you try different products like toiletries. I know you're an early adopter of toiletries. And you go into things like this and you choose it not just because of the product, but also because of how you know it's going to look within your shop. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, like it definitely gets people's attention. Like you have to walk past that spot to get to the post office.
Yep.
Yeah, it certainly comes into consideration how something looks to set it up.
And that traffic flow consideration is important too, because when you've got destination spaces like the post office or the lottery counter, people are going on the various highways within the shop to get to those. So what are you placing along there to help leverage that traffic into other business, which is pretty important.
Yeah, because with the post office, we don't do any Australia Post catalogue,
no,
all that junky stuff that they have. It's purely Australia Post products only.
Here we're looking at the back of the shop towards the front. And so I can imagine here I bought a lottery ticket or something, I've turned around and I go to leave and I see the leather bags, I've got cards down the right, I've got gifts down the middle. There's nothing that says newsagent about this shop at all.
I hope not.
No, just the newspaper. Just the newspapers hidden under the table.
Hey, is that where your newspapers are?
That's it.
That's great.
That's all they need.
Now, I wanted to zoom in on this because, Mark, you also turned your carpentry skills out here too. These are blocks of wood.
Yep.
Yeah. The hook screwed in.
I can't take who's
yeah, we stole that from Mel at Toowoomba.
Right.
So yeah. But it's
fantastic, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, we're always stealing ideas from each other. That's what you have to do.
That's what good retailers do.
Yeah.
You've got good humor in there. And this is, as we head towards the front door, standing in one of the sort of the nooks, you've got the cards down the right, and you've still got this sort of section. If somebody's looking for sort of these more, I guess I'd say lady type things, if I could say it that way, they're away from the hustle and bustle of the shop.
Yeah.
So it still looks like there's a lot of space, but that's so that you allow people to move around.
Yeah, well, we're at the shopping centre, so a lot of people do come in with trolleys.
Yep.
So, yeah, we have enough space for a trolley and that's it.
So tell us about this. This is your Christmas
outpost.
Outpost. Outpost is a good word, yep. And you bought this shade tent, I guess it is?
Yeah, just marquees.
A marquee.
Yep.
How much did you pay for that?
Maybe $3,000.
And how many years have you had it now?
4. I think we've done 4 Christmases with it.
And is it successful?
Paid for itself in the first week.
So in behind the marquee, in this marquee over here, there's the entrance to the shop through there, yeah?
Yep.
Yeah.
Cool. So you go out with the marquee. How do you protect it at night time?
Well, the marquee's bolted to the ground, so it'll take someone, a little while to get it unbolted if they want to steal it. I chose one strong enough, so if a drunk wants to swing off it, it can withstand that. And that's it. It's just...
But, yeah, everything's on wheels.
Oh, but, yeah, sorry, as far as the contents, you can see these are just ordinary Bunnings tables, those 3 black tables there. They're just ordinary Bunnings tables, but...
on a timber frame.
I just had some scrap timber, so we just built frames and put some wheels under them so they roll.
Yeah.
And so you wheel the products out each day?
Yep. It's designed to take one person about 5 minutes.
And how long over the Christmas period would your marquee be set up?
About 8 weeks. We'll start last week of October.
Yep. And do you have it up after Christmas at all for clearance?
Usually it's gone by. Usually that's New Year's Day's job is to pull the marquee down.
Yep. And so that's kind of when the marquee's up, you haven't got product in it. So that provides people context.
Yeah. That's when you can see it's nice and really shiny red there. That must have been when it was first new, when it was new.
Yeah.
So what you've done here is you've said, we've got this business and the business is traveling really well. Let's see what we can do with the marquee out the front for a Christmas story, because you didn't have enough room, did you, in the shop to do the kind of Christmas retail that you wanted to do?
You can't even do everyday Christmas retail.
Yeah.
Just we can't even, to put box cards and loose cards up would be a stretch, because something giftware has to go for that to happen. So
I'll just stop sharing the screen now. So thinking about the marquee, because I think the decision around the marquee is a real kind of hallmark for how you guys have run the business, because I know, you talked about the marquee for a bit and you were looking at it and wondering whether you should or not, whatever. And you did your research on the marquees and you did your research on the amount of money you'd need to spend on the stock to put into it. And that first year, my understanding is that first year you saw it was a success.
Yeah.
And so now your goal is to leverage that success for as long as you can to get that return on the investment. And looking back on that, it must make you feel really proud that it's an example of a really good decision that you've made that's paid off in quite a number of ways for the business.
It was the moment that I suppose really defined it being a gift destination.
Yep. That
first Christmas.
Yep.
And it becomes a talking point. As soon as people see Mark starting to set it up, they know what's coming. They're like, oh, can't wait to see what you put out here.
They'll annoy me for a few weeks beforehand and want to know when I'm going to put it up.
There are people who, you would have heard it too, but there are people I would have talked to about your shop before, and you can see them sort of tune out because they think, I can't be a Sarina. I can't be that big in gifts. And because they think your shop was born this way. But what we've talked about today is you've gone on this long journey. And what we're seeing now is really recent in the overall life of your business, isn't it?
Yeah, my disappointment is I suppose we didn't get there sooner. Didn't get to where we are sooner by not changing and pushing ourselves hard enough.
But there are a lot of people who haven't got there today, and they will in their own time. But we all step up to things at our own pace. How much time have you had off in the last, say, 8 months away from the business? I know that's a cheeky question because I have an idea of the answer.
Yeah, well, Mark goes snowboarding in Japan for 3 weeks.
Sorry, he goes snowboarding in Japan?
For 3 weeks every year. That's his thing. He works hard 49 of the weeks. I mean, I was at the UK, Germany with you and Anthony and Matt at the start of the year. We did Sydney, been on a camping trip. We went to Broome.
I was going to say, you've been to Broome, you've done the camping trip.
Yeah.
You've got more trips planned. Tasmania,
yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, I'm off to the US again.
So part of the ownership of the business is that you're making sure that you're taking time for yourselves and enjoying life outside the business. So how important is that to you?
It's very important for just, I suppose,
for us.
Yeah, just to recharge.
Yeah.
Just to get away from everything, everything else is going on, and just do something different.
Sorry.
I suppose part of the way we travel, or we might only do 2 or 3 week trips, because that's business is set up that it still needs our presence for any longer than that. And that's, I suppose that means that we're making more. We make more money out of it because we don't need a senior, like a manager or anything else just to cover up what we're there. So we would rather push this business harder and retire sooner.
Yep.
Not retire to do nothing, but retire to do something else.
Yeah. And while you've been doing this, while you've been building the business and making all of these changes, of course, you've had 2 children. They've gone through primary school and high school, and they're now heading into, they're both in tertiary education.
Yeah, they're both at uni in Brisbane.
Yeah. So, and that all happened within the lifetime of the business.
Yeah. We were only married 10 months when we bought.
And so, there would be people who would think, how do you have the energy to have done all of that and still be doing it? And part of it is, I think, the time you take away from the business. But also you make sure, you eat healthy and you exercise. And so you're doing these other things to have a good mindset to be able to do all this stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that, you just need to, turn it off or put it to one side. When you go home, when you go out the door and leave, that's it for the day.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, I mean, I'm proud to say, like, we've been together, or we've been in business almost 23 years. We've been together 26 years. And in that time, we've never fought. We've never had a fight. We've never argued. And I think
you don't have a doll somewhere that you can stick pins in.
Well, he's never wrong, so there's nothing to argue about, apparently. But and I take pride in that. I mean, yes, we're in business together. We have disagreed on things, but it's never to that point. And and I think that's a fairly big milestone. Not many people probably say that, and that's been, for me, the best thing about what we've done the last 23 years is doing it with him. Like, I couldn't imagine anybody else. And like I said, we don't have retail. We've never had retail experience. And I'm still, and I know it's a joke within our group, I don't like retail. Like,
you don't like customers.
I don't like people. Like, I don't, if I had a choice, I wouldn't. But when I do, I'm good at, like my lady today, I sold her $750 worth of stuff in one transaction. And like one Saturday morning, I didn't, that Lisa Pollock display, like, I didn't get it done on the Friday, so I went on the Saturday morning, my day off. So I was out on the floor setting this up. I sold $1,500 worth of gifts for the morning, and that was me doing that. Even though I don't like it, I'm good at it.
You're good about it.
Like, I do struggle being around people.
How much do you focus on making sure that the business is profitable today? There are some retailers who think, when I sell, I'm going to make my money, which of course, I think is ridiculous. But how much do you focus on making today profitable?
I suppose start from the end and work back. Our exit strategy is, if necessary, to have a if necessary, work an extra year or two, have a fire sale, and get out.
Yeah. Like, how long?
As opposed to people who will hold out for some great price and never get it.
Yeah. Like, how long do you have your business for sale for? Like, what's the time frame? Like,
so we think if you need that extra money, well, it comes from the profit you make every day and every week. Is where you get the money out of your business. It's not from what you sell it for.
We've had a long conversation. Is there anything that you would, if somebody's looking at your business for the first time through this video, is there anything else that you think you'd want to say to people, just to provide any further context or make any other comments?
If you go back to, I suppose, what you're saying about it being Sarina and it's too hard, or like Shelley, this lady that Shelley sold $750 worth of stuff today. We've, I suppose, cultivated that relationship over a long time. But they're out there everywhere. You just need to find them.
Yeah. Isn't it funny? We don't know what we don't know in retail. We don't know. It's like when you put a product out, you don't know if it's going to work. And then when you see it work and you realize how it's worked, you're smart enough to say, okay, I can take that information and replicate that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you got to give it a go. Like
Yeah.
you don't know. You got to be willing to take that risk. And if it doesn't work, get rid of it. Don't hang on to it thinking, oh, it should work. It should work. If it's not working, clear it, get rid of it, try something else.
Yeah.
Like just, it is trial and error. Like we did, yeah, like you said, we didn't do this overnight. You know, it's probably been the last, since, especially in the new location, that I see us being the most successful. And those trips overseas have been a huge catalyst for me.
Yeah, look, I mean, my observation of the shop is that the last 4 to 5 years have seen the most significant change. And it's almost like, I get a sense that it's almost like fun for you, in the sense of, you know, how far can we take this? How far can we play outside of what's expected?
There's definitely that element where, yeah, well, we do like to push the boundary and just see what else we can drag in. And those fry pans in the photos was an example of that.
Yeah.
Where you still up to 80. Yes.
Yeah, we sold over 80.
We sold over 80 since
almost 12 months. Yeah.
Early June we had them.
That's fantastic. It's amazing. Well, look, thanks for joining in the conversation. Thank you for being so open. And hopefully the conversation's been helpful for people to see, or to understand the journey, and to see what's possible if you really kind of set your mind to it.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.